in doc that we use to do some brainstorming?
I don't have it. I
Okay,
would
okay.
love to see it. Yeah.
Oh, I think I know. It's in the team meeting notes.
Okay.
I'm gonna find it.
Yeah, I think Ben is also joining, but I probably won't be like co-host, otherwise it'd be too messy.
Okay.
I
Makes
think
sense.
I just add him as potential speakers. Just do
In the group.
right, yeah.
If something comes up during the recording, let's use the Telegram to like
Yeah,
ping
yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
Modify Evan's invite to space.
Is Evan here? Should we start talking or something?
I think we want to have Evan, right? Evan is not.
Yeah, he needs to be here, right? Yes.
Oh, Evan just joined, requested. Okay, I'm gonna approve him as a speaker. Yeah, I approved Evan, so he's a speaker now. Should we start?
Yeah.
Okay. We can Discord is that for me. So I'm
Let's
trying to,
put Evan as a co-host. I
yeah.
think you only put it as a speaker.
I invited.
I think it's okay. We can start even if he's a speaker. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can start now. So
Hi, everyone. Yeah, welcome to the Twitter space. Today we are really honored to have Evan Cheng, the co-founder and CEO of Mr. Lab and the SUI blockchain project, as our speaker. And this is Bill Sang. I'm co-hosting this guest series with David A, our co-founder at Ping AI.
Hi everyone. Yeah, really excited to be here and to have Evan. Hey guys, great to be here.
Yeah, maybe we can start with some introduction. Maybe Evan, you can like introduce us, like what are up your mind recently for the last few months, and yeah, like what is your top priorities, and what are you doing with the whole like AI trend?
Hi everyone. I'm Evan. So I'm the co-founder CEO of Mr. Lab. You probably know Mr. Lab is behind Street Network, as well as we are focusing a lot of energy also on building Wars, which is our decentralized storage platform. We're just busy building our great infrastructure for the decentralized future. I've been talking to a lot of folks, kind of adjacent to the AI space as well. There's a lot of interest, a lot of worry about centralization of power, a lot of worry about content, whether they can be authenticated or not, right? So there's these are areas that there's overlap. I am doing as much to listen. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess one thing we were curious is like the original vision of Sui has this central concept of like basically object, right? Like the central object is like something that is dynamic, and the object centric will also allow any asset to be dynamically evolving. And with Ping AI, we are trying to build basically every person's data and like things related to data, like their intent and the personal AI built on top of their personal data as a center topic. So we want to learn from you what's the design principle from Sui, and how do you think the design principle can help building the next generation, like more AI data type platform.
Yeah, so the design principle behind SUI is it's basically modeling the interaction between assets. It's also a blockchain is all about kind of facilitating transfer of value or anything of value. And it's also you want to create assets that goes beyond just the, sort of the mundane assets and passive. You want them to be able to self-enforcing rules, right? So this is the future of the world where we want to move towards to decentralized trust, right? We don't want human in the middle, sort of become gatekeeper. And the best way to do is just trusting software. So that's the design principle around it. This is why SUI is built around this object-centric model. This is very, very important because it's also allow us to scale the system in a much, much different way, right? So all the other blockchains are thinking in terms of a giant global state, right? Where everything is in some kind of authentic data structure, tree type of data structure. You really need to separate the states into much finer grained assets, states where you can manipulate them separately. So you don't have a necessary sort of dependency and conflicts when you access different assets, right? That just limiting your ability to model things properly and also limiting your way to scale both on-chain storage as well as on-chain processing capacities. So I think, if you think that way, right, you wrap your heads around from this kind of the rudimentary kind of account-based model to object-centric model, you quickly realize this is a much more kind of familiar and much more natural way of modeling kind of assets. When it comes to AI, it's similar, right? So things are hierarchical. You have to have composability, not just at a code level, but also at a data level. That's absolutely crucial. At the data level, we have, kind of composability because as assets, objects own other objects, you can compose different objects together. And that maps very naturally to how you think about personal data and how they can be kind of used, right? Additionally, the blockchain and the SUI runtimes is there to sort of enforce all these rules and the complication about ownership, right? So you can govern ownership at each individual object level. That also maps much better than say your classic account-based model where it's either everything is transparent or public or everything's private. So yeah, this is just a little bit of insight into how SUI thinks, and we believe it does maps much better into personal data and how AI should think about kind of utilizing blockchains.
Super interesting. Maybe I can introduce a little bit about PIN AI, and then I want to ask a question back related to what Evan just said. So with PIN AI, for the people that were not here before, is like what we're mainly doing is building the first personal AI network. So two main components. One, we allow user to reclaim their data, and then we use it to personalize their AI on their local device. And like the way we use the blockchain right now is mainly like to coordinate and incentivize this activity. So actually most of the data processing and also like the personal AI and data interaction right now happens off-chain. And then we improve certain computation, we improve certain attributes that the user personal AI has. But the on-chain footprint of our protocol is like pretty small. But as Evan was describing, like made me think about, it was kind of pointing in the direction of like potentially like with a blockchain like SUI, you could use like on-chain compute on like data that is represented as object on-chain. I honestly haven't thought too much about that direction, but could be very interesting. So my question for Evan is like, do you have like some example also to help us and maybe like the audience understand like what type of like different architecture of AI applications are you thinking for SUI or what else like the protocols you're working on? Yeah. Oh, Evan, I think you're muted if you're answering.
Yeah, I think we're still very early, in terms of understanding how kind of the interaction between AI and blockchains right now. I think the area that we are very, very clear about is, I think, personal data, how the data attributes to the AI model and how they're being used. You want to also the ability to track kind of history. Those things that fits really, really well with kind of blockchain, what is good for. So that part we're clear, right? So when you talk about kind of your personal data, how that can be used for kind of, for example, iterative refinement, right? And also maybe local influence type of things. I think that works really well. Beyond that, I don't know if there's a, kind of a, clear understanding how this two, kind of fields intersect these in, so we still have a lot of experimentation to do, a lot of kind of, we're eagerly waiting for the developers to kind of try things out and see what works really well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Another question, Evan, since you worked at Apple for a long time, right? I think 10 years, and you were like author of LLVM, and also you worked at Facebook leading the whole Libra project and created a Move language inside. And now you're doing such a successful platform. And so you have been in the most centralized big platform. And in fact, Apple and Meta are the two largest platforms that I think PingAI is trying to pose a kind of orthogonal angle to basically attack the how to build your personal AI that is really personalized and know you really well angle, right? Like Apple is having the Apple Intelligence, and Meta is having a lot of different versions of personal AI. For example, on the Facebook Messenger, they are like Snoop Dogg personal AI and stuff. So like both founders are pushing very hard. And they also have very different perspective, right? Apple is like, we are super private, but you need to enter my private garden to be basically API under my Apple Intelligence ecosystem. And Facebook is like, everything is centralized. We are the most successful monetization platform for ads, and we will just become even more powerful with AI, and we use Llama to basically enlarge our ecosystem, and so that we make the moat on our advertisement machine even deeper. And with PingAI, we are taking a third approach where we want every user to own their own data and basically connect all different types and modalities of data, like their Twitter, their Facebook, their Google, their Robinhood, their Binance trading records, their Web3 wallets, their Shopify shopping history, and even more types of data to build a more diverse profile of their personal AI that know them even better than what Apple and Meta can do. So our approach is very kind of decentralized and starting from user. And our design principle is trying to mimic how Bitcoin attract people with the proof of work go-to-market, right? Having a lot of people plugging like a CPU, GPU, and later ASIC in a permissionless way. In our case, it's like you plug all your personal data into your data wallet that we are about to launch. And using the wallet, you are basically having it as your local like data mining chip to mine your preference and build your personal AI as a way to distribute the PIN token. So I was curious, since you have been both on the decentralization and the centralization end, how do you say small kind of blockchain space startup navigate in competition with tech giants like Meta and Apple?
Yeah, I mean, basically, right, just speaking more, kind of focus more on the decentralized field, right? the whole point of decentralization is you want to move away from this business model where gatekeepers, centralized entities, are the source of truth, right? They provide you convenience, you have to trust them, right? They are the centralized trust, right? Therefore, you're okay to give them access to your data in exchange for convenience and security, right? So ultimately, that's what you're combating. You need to make sure you're building products that where users are not the products, basically, right? So we talk, for example, on social media, there's a lot of this kind of concerns about, right, how the data is being used, and they actually are, the marketplace are earning more the profits. Very little has been shared with users, right? So understanding what your business model is, how that you benefit the consumers is sort of step number one. You cannot go head on, kind of combat against these centralized giants, right? They have too much network effect. There was too much marketing kind of power. If you have adopting the same business model, you just don't have a chance, right? So ultimately, this is, decentralization is basically even in the playing field against the big guys, right? And you have to always focus on not deviating from that path. Once you deviate from the past, right, you use any kind of centralized solutions, and then you almost force down the role of becoming the gatekeeper. And once become the gatekeeper, the temptation is to continue to use that power, to monetize, right? So that's very dangerous. So the way to build, competitive business against decentralized, kind of powerhouses is, in a way, kind of continue to follow the decentralization, right? Give your user something that's better, given to be part of, to have ownership in the underlying products and underlying infrastructure, making sure they have more ownership in their own data and they can benefit from it. That's basically the starting point. That's the only way you can kind of start a change, start a paradigm shift. Once people understand this is better for them, then you have a chance to come back. It changes people's mind, and they can maybe willing to move away from the convenience, convenience centralized players are used to today.
Yeah, that's very, very insightful. In fact, there is another angle, I think, by decentralization, you kind of are naturally married with all the open source developers and the small tech, right? The other startups that want to build on your ecosystem. I think SUI is super successful at attracting a lot of different developers that build applications. So for Ping AI, we are trying to focus on building the personal data infrastructure layer to allow different developers to build different types of personal AI, right? Some personal AI might be like your personal executive assistant that is very good at helping you, like say, do shopping or help you like pick your favorite meme coins. And some is more like your AI companions, like your AI avatar that talk really like you and behave like you, or even like say video generation AI that can generate avatar version of you on TikTok. There can also be more like the AI girlfriend, boyfriend type that know you really well and be your companion on the long time and kind of spend a lot of time with you. Right? We are just starting to imagining different application when we actually put users' personal data together. And we were curious, what's your experience of curating kind of natural organic growing developer community so that high quality developers come and build on SUI, and how we can learn from that?
I mean, I think like anything, right? I mean, first of all, building a developer platform is probably one of the hardest the business you can be. It's really, really hard to kind of stay, sort of stand out above the crowd and making sure your vision is aligned with your developer community. Because in a lot of ways, you're serving two sets of audience, right? You're serving the developers, but you also have to understand what the consumers need. So I think this is a trick, right? You first need to have a very, very strong understanding what consumer needs first. Then you can have a vision, have a point of view what your developer platform will look like, right? Because you cannot go down the path and try to copy everybody else's ideas, everybody else's feature. You have to stand out, otherwise you're at risk to being a commodity, right? And being a commodity is never a place you want to be. So we've seen that, in a lot of the sort of the blockchain space, right, where all the layer 2s basically look identical. A lot of new layer 1s and also talk about they support this and that, but there's nothing that stands out, or that's nothing separate them from others, right? So understanding that, right, having the insight of what the consumer needs and building developer products that allow them to build product that better fits the needs of consumer is the trick here. And it just takes a lot of iteration, right? You have to have fast iteration. You need to make sure your foundation, your platform is correct that allow you to iterate faster than anybody else is one of the keys. And you need to have this very, very tight kind of feedback loop where your developer on your platform gets feedback from their customers, and then that feedback goes very, very quickly to you as a platform to supply them with the tools they need to go after those, to address those feedback. There's no other magic ways. You kind of just have to move faster and build better product, and it helps a lot when you have a foundation that allow you to iterate faster than your competitor.
Yeah, I know David was also thinking in getting the developer. So maybe David, you want to follow up on this question?
Yeah, I think this is interesting. I actually had a thought with the previous discussion around decentralization. So maybe I want to go back there a little bit because I think this question of basically this crypto AI field, if you take out all the kind of more speculation that it's normal at this stage of kind of a new field, but the main goal there is it's kind of a revolution against big tech, right? And I think one aspect is definitely the decentralization, as Evan was saying before. This is also very near and dear to my heart. I mean, I come from the Ethereum ecosystem that basically decentralization, censorship-free systems are kind of the core pillar, and you can think that it's basically been exporting those concepts, right, to other projects as well. So I think that's fundamental, for AI applications to build on foundation layers that are decentralized. But I think one other important aspect in this revolution against big tech is the composability of blockchain protocols, right? And I was already thinking about this, but even more as we are building PIN, that essentially we are building kind of the first personal AI network and the application on the user side. But then I feel that even for personal AI specifically, we are not going to win just ourselves, the PIN protocol versus this big tech, right? It's all the protocols that are building around us. So I can give a concrete example. Initially, we were thinking that personal AI that resides on the user device and is fully owned by the user, obviously has some computation constraints. And so we were thinking there needs to be a multitude of agent services that this personal AI can talk to, can procure some work for them or even be hired by them, right? And we were thinking, we need to build this whole agentic network as well. This was around 10 months ago. But then what's happening in the last 10 months, you have all these AI agent registries. I'm thinking about virtuals on Ethereum base, but there's many others. So right now it's mainly entertainment agents, but if you talk to the leaders of these projects, they're already looking, how do we pass this and we enable other type of service agents that can essentially take orders from other agents in a decentralized way, serve their purpose. So one conclusion there is that we probably don't need to build all these agentic side of things, right? We are working with like some agent subnets that we build, but I think what's really powerful is that like our personal AI can be very powerful because it has access to all these agentic services that are deployed and registered on chain by different entities in a permissionless way. And these concepts seem very powerful to me, right? Because then all of a sudden the enormous feat of going against big tech, it doesn't seem so impossible anymore, where you have like multiple protocols like working together. Yeah, so I just wanted to like get also Evan's thoughts on this, since like you also are in a space where like you must be thinking a lot about, okay, what kind of protocols do we enable, and how they can basically compose and kind of empower each other.
So I think you're talking about one key thing that's very, very hard to get right is sort of protocol composability, or just generalized to be code composability, right? So one of the challenges is you have every protocol may have different ideas, what they do, what they compose, what they allow others to leverage, right? And you've seen this play out in the blockchain space where, you need to enforce some kind of standard, and the standard protocol, kind of interface tend to be fairly minimum, only exposing a few kind of key features. And it's like, if you don't opt into the standard, it's hard to see sort of like interoperability happen. It is a hard problem to solve, right? You really, really need to kind of, make sure your design is correct ahead of time, and make sure they also have understanding how they define the, kind of the boundary, the responsibility, and the functions, so they have a chance to be able to kind of, perform different functions in a cohesive manner. I don't have a great answer for that. What we are doing on the SUI side is, we allow each of the developer to define the protocol and be able to export the protocol to basically type objects. That works really well, because that you don't have to be forced into some standard ahead of time. Yeah, as far as what sort of the different AI agents, how they can interact with each other and all that. Again, I think this is just something we're going to have to see how the the market shakes out. And as a sort of development part, kind of platform, you can enforce your opinions on that, right? So it comes down to, do you want to build a very opinionated, you want to be opinionated about kind of your platform's API, or you want to let sort of like the market sort it out themselves?
Yeah, makes sense. And in fact, like if you look at virtual like story protocol is also trying to like start working towards some standard. But yeah, I've seen it in different projects in the past, and as you said, like if you are trying to converge to a standard and like a community of like differentiated projects, like there is no one path, right? Like if you are more opinionated and your protocol is successful, then maybe like that becomes the de facto standard that people start copying and adopting if you design it correctly. But yeah, I think this is a good point.
Yeah, I mean the fact, right? It's like standardization is a tough process, right? You essentially are trying to get a community or some kind of consensus among people who have sort of different opinions, and they have different incentive, right? Everybody's incentivized for their thing, their interface to become the standard, and that is really, really hard, right? So I think the model we go for on the SUI side is not to rely on standard, rather for each individual to be able to express their intents and what they expose to the others. And then users that want to compose on top of that can freely choose how they utilize the functionality the others are exposing.
Yeah, I think the developer side is more like you co-grow with the whole ecosystem, right? It's not even very easy to set up the design principle and have more like Elon Musk style kind of monopoly founder approach. And I think in like the way Vitalik and all the other like top like community leaders is more pointing out to the future and then have the whole community figure out what the standard will look like, right? A lot of the innovation come from the community co-building some ideas together with the original team. So I guess it's the same with SUI, right?
Yeah, I mean, most likely the one that sort of reach the product market fit first, right? The ones that gather the most kind of attentions are going to become the de facto standard, and then sort of force everybody else to follow.
Yeah, let's switch a bit gears and talk about how SUI gets such successful consumer side go to market, right? Like as a blockchain platform, you still need to basically go through all the marketing and go through all the different like growth tactics to have like growth, right? Initially, say in PNAI's early stage, we are still relying on organic growth, but I think at some point you need to think about growth almost like an internet company, but with like a slightly different channels and techniques. And I noticed like SUI is extremely popular in Korea in particular, right? Like over the last half year, it's almost one of the most popular rocket star in Korea. I was wondering if Evan, you can share how you do it and how the team actually put off all. It's just all miraculously organic growth happening by your fan community.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few principles that we have kind of that we followed that ultimately make us successful. The one that's most important is be authentic. So, right, be your own voice and be truthful about what you intend to do. And that's very important, right? If you follow SUI along the journey, you know that we never try to catch on or follow others' narrative. In fact, in this current crypto cycle, you probably have seen how many narrative that has come and gone, right? I still remember, like there's modular when we started, probably in 2020, late 2022, and then there's like L2. Is it going to be a narrative, or is it parallel EVM, or is it restaking? We ignore pretty much all the narrative and focus on the fundamentals, right? We want to build the best developer platform. We want to make sure everything is decentralized. We want to make sure they have the best experience, they can ship the best product, right? You start from that, then you have authentic voice. You don't want to ever try to follow anybody else. The second principle the second thing that's very important, probably help us, kind of build the following and build the trust in our brand is execution, right? We just continuously deliver, right? We say we're going to do something. We never put out vaporware, and we ship, right? We ship product, we ship features, we ship improvements that's beneficial to developers, right? And that's the brain of SUI, right? We kind of within a few months after mainnet, we undergo a major consensus upgrade, and everything is just keep on ticking, and performance across the board, everything got better, right? When you go through a few iterations, kind of cycle like that, you build a lot of the credibility, you build a lot of trust in your brand that makes everything else easier, right? So I'll say those are probably most important principle, and that applies a lot to sort of marketing strategy, go to market, and just building sustainable brand, attracting attentions. And in Korea, I think Korea, like in many other markets, are very, very unique, right? When we were fortunate that we had a lot of early attentions in Korea. Probably saw the hypes early on, but we're able to continue to build on that by having kind of good partners locally and having a presence local presence, and just continue to gauge and build, and and our brand and reputation, kind of persist through that. In fact, it was not really smooth sailing along the way. We had a lot of attacks and thought come out of that region as well, but we were able to overcome them, and that actually make us stronger. So all those matters, right? But the first most important thing is, you have to understand as founders, what kind of brand you want to build. What are you going to be known about? Are you going to be one that sort of be authentic and ship good product, or you're going to be one that's sort of try to chase whatever the hot narrative that's currently there? Because my advice is don't do that, because narrative come and goes very quickly, especially in this current market.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that perspective. I totally agree with the chasing narrative is not working most of the time. I'm just curious, like in terms of SUI, right? Like, what were some temptations, right? I know that like you said that like one of your differentiation is that like you are really like behind your core principle and your vision, and you never shake. But at least in the earlier days, there must have been times where like you try to position yourself, right? And like there is some established players already that you are competing with. Like, what were like some potential deviations that you could have done, right? I don't know, in chasing a market fit for SUI, basically.
There are several, right? I mean, first and foremost, right, we've been hearing from, even before we go to launch, and when the company was formed, before mainnet, the question has always been, well, surely by now EVM has proven one, solidity is, compatibility is most important. That's pretty much everybody told us, and we just say no, right? Our position stands, and I am very, very strong on this. Is like, that's a crutch, right? EVM compatibility, solidity compatibility is a crutch. You go down that path, you're actually going to be worse. You're going to be building worse product, and it's our principle to shit that, right? Move away from it. We don't ever want to deviate from that principle. So many of these things are important, and this is why we never change, right? We never change. Then later on, it's a lot of narrative, right? How do you differentiate with a new class of protocols, L1s or L2 that come out at the same time, right? There's a lot of like, are you similar to this and similar to that? We just never participated in that, right? We never played that game. We focus on building our own product, shipping our network improvements, everything we do. We don't participate in those, those online debates, and we just let the results, kind of speak for yourself. There are many examples, right? I think with this past cycle has been through so many narrative, right? We were steadfast, kind of ignore a lot of these short-term narrative that came and go. We never deviated.
Yeah, makes sense. Super interesting. One other thought I had is like, I look a little bit into like innovation in like SUI architecture. I think there is a few ones that are very, very interesting. And then also like the scalability and the throughput that you can achieve is impressive. But one thing that I was thinking is like, if you looked at, for example, Ethereum in the early days, there were not too many applications, right? And a lot of like applications that we currently use on all blockchains, like lending protocols, DEXs, like Uniswap comes to mind. kind of the Ethereum community had to kind of invest in those and like produce those products to like essentially showcase that there is some real innovative products that people can use on blockchains. Now, like fast forward a few years, as you said, we have this new wave of platforms, right? That in theory, they can enable like new kinds of products that can potentially like improve crypto adoption a lot. But I'm not very close. I don't work directly or build directly one of them like you do. So I'm really curious, like, what products are you seeing or trying to like see like what type of innovation have you seen of things that you can really showcase that, hey, you can do this thing on SUI, but it's like really hard to do otherwise, right? Similar to how some applications were really hard to do on Bitcoin, but they were possible on Ethereum.
I mean, I think like anything, the iterations phase, it's long, right? And what you're seeing right now, SUI come out with a very, very different ideas what a blockchain should look like. And we have a lot of the big, kind of things that's already been delivered and the innovations happening and the building blocks being built, right? But then it takes time for the applications to catch up. So what you're seeing so far are probably mostly your typical DGen products, right? DeFi, social and other products that's being built. You're probably going to see them if you ever play with them. You say, okay, they have much better experience, or much more profitable, much easier to use, much easier to onboard over the similar products on other platforms. But you're not necessarily going to see things that's clearly it's like this can only be possible there, right? Unless it just like need to be fast or cheap and that sort of thing. I think what we're going to see the evolution of the blockchain space is going to be more and more use cases beyond the DGen, the speculative or the financial products kind of space. Because ultimately blockchain, decentralized layer one, like SUI, is all about moving the trust away from centralized gatekeeper to decentralized software. Right, simple as that. And then you probably heard us talk a lot about coordination. Kind of layer, right? So as AI agents become more and more reality, as more of these need for automation start to happen, you're going to see SUI and maybe other blockchain play a more critical role in that, right? Because ultimately, the need to remove frictions for coordination, right? You can think coordination in terms of marketplace, buy side and sell side, matching them, being one. Or you can think about, you have jobs to fulfill and the other people to fulfill them. You need somebody in the middle to, sort of coordinate who gets what. Or even as simple as things like, well, I need to be able to have access to my own assets. Or in the case of AI agent, I delegate responsibility to them to access my asset. Who holds the key? Who manages the key for me? Is it going to be a centralized entity I trust? Or is it going to be myself? Can I recover if something goes wrong? All these things are starting to become more complex, and the need to remove the friction is going to become greater and greater. And this is where we're going to be shining. And I'm very confident in that. Like we're going to showcase things that build on top of SUI that basically is impossible elsewhere. Like completely permissionless, self-owned key management system, where no centralized entity ever required to trust, right? This will completely change the way you think about asset custody, and you completely think about the way, kind of how you share your data, your resource with others, software or human otherwise. These are the example, right? So we still have a few layers of building block that we have to build, but I'm pretty excited about what we're going to show off in 2025.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I remember in one previous interview you mentioned you want SUI to be the universal coordination layer, right? In one of David's talk, he also mentioned he wants Pin AI to be the coordination layer for personal AI. So I guess there is a clear convergence of vision. So maybe David, you can try to articulate a bit like what we are doing and say if like there's something that spark any like further interesting thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you think about it, right, it's for AI agents to really kind of get to the point where they are responsible for your life, right? Perform a lot of function, a lot of things you don't want to do yourself, right? Today, you may have to call up some humans you have to trust them with your, say, financial record, your access to your credit card, your bank account, or there's certain kind of information, your travel document, your passport information. A lot of these sensitive information right now, you're trusting human to do. Because, if they violate their trust, right, you have recourse. What's the next iteration of this, right? If you want to move the trust to AI agents, to software, how are you going to do that in a completely trustful way? What's a recourse if they end up, misuse that trust, right? So this is where the interaction is going to become very, very clear, right? It's like how you are in charge of your personal sensitive information. You control in a much more automated and programmable way who gets access what, how they can be, what's the guardrail for them to use them, and they don't violate these guardrail. That is what it's about. This is what we talk about when we talk about coordination. So that's where the match is going to happen.
Yeah, I think our vision aligns here too. Like, I'm very excited about this aspect. And in fact, like something that I talk about in one of my recent posts, and we are also building it in the Ping protocol, is this idea of like differential security for agent services. And the idea is that crypto actually gives us a lot, right? Between decentralization, economic incentives, and cryptography, there is like, we have many tools at our hands to like ensure security of this application or AI entities. So my framework was pretty simple, right? There is basically 3 levels. Level 1, security is like for low stakes operation where the damage is low. Maybe you can rely mainly on reputation, right? Like these authentic apps and reputation at stake. Level 2 for higher sums of value, like higher risk. Then you can rely on economic incentives like staking, posting collateral in escrow, and then basically having recourse by proving that like the service delivery was faulty. And then the third one is like full cryptographic security, right? It's like if you have an agent that is making a diagnosis, medical diagnosis, then you want to make sure that like you verify like key parts of like the operation and the inference itself. So this is just an example, but like I totally agree with what Evan said, that decentralized trust and like the crypto and economic tools we have is basically the only way to go in this new wave of the internet.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about that's pretty much a given. You're never going back to the world where human are in the middle of everything. For both, right? One, we are in a kind of a trust deficit, right? It's like these days, if you receive a phone call on a phone number that you don't recognize, you probably not picking it up, right? Because it's most likely a scam. The trust deficit is increasing, right? In other humans are decreasing. And 2, they're just not efficient enough. They're not fast enough. They're not programmable. So, when you understand these and this is the natural evolution, this is absolutely the way to go.
Evan, like recently for the last probably 3 months, the whole like building different AI, especially like AI Twitter bot on like blockchain has been a major like trend that a lot of people get excited about and building a bunch of like fun experiments, right? do you see any experiments and like a kind of overall trials that makes you feel like this is actually bigger than pure like meme coin or like a pure like AI Twitter bot that talk about things and automatically sending messages? Like what do you see as a big trend?
I think you sort of in a way answer your own question. These are experiments. One will argue right now a lot of these AI bots, AI coins are probably meme coin with some bot attached to it. But it's experimentation. It's exciting. It's interesting. As they iterate and they do more experimentation, there are more interesting things can come out. Nobody really know how far they're going to go, whether we're going to end up hitting some limitation that prevent them from iterating further. I don't have any kind of crystal ball to see where we're going with this. Right now, it's moving very fast. It's a bit of a wild west. But yeah, I'm hopeful that will change, and we're going to soon be talking about another exciting iteration of what crypto or crypto AI will look like. Yeah, but at the same time, I don't want to separate that from the keys. The more important kind of work that we as industry have to do is probably understanding the AI being such a powerful tool. The centralization of power is fundamentally very, very, very dangerous, right? Dangerous in the way that's going to make the hurdles to overcome incumbent effect even harder, right? Startup cannot compete with the giant companies, with a deep pocket to train new models. Unless you are the few startup that they're already a massive company, right? So and this technology, this powerful technology, if it's purely in the hands of a few gatekeeper, it could be very, very dangerous, right? This is not fear mongering. I think everybody recognize concentration of power does have a downside. So what we need to do is just kind of continue to build, continue to experiment, continue to go after solving these kind of hard problems. And then, and I'm pretty confident, that, there will be a natural sort of like a merging or intersection that emerges with these two fields, and everybody will recognize or have a clear understanding why they are like important. They're almost equally important, but in a very different way.
Yeah. I think one fun question that I just come up with is more freestyle, following up the previous question. If you take the like a time machine and become a younger version of yourself at your 30, and now you were forced to do your own startup, maybe like a decentralized AI startup, build something on SUI that you hope you will spend your next 3 to 5 years of your life on. In the younger version of yourself, what are the top 3 things that you potentially build within like decentralized AI?
So there's a few ideas, right? One is data attribution, the individual data attribution. How your data is being used, and that contribute to the model, right? Imagine every time everybody query the LLM and the result comes out, but utilizing your data, individual data in some way, and then the attribution is done properly, you benefit from it, right? Imagine that's the model where consumers that contribute the data that go into the AI models gets the benefit, completely proportional to their contribution. That's powerful if we can do that, right? I think obviously, kind of the other areas will be to eliminate any of the, kind of a, risk of access being gated by the gatekeeper, right? Think about, if let's say one day, there's a dominant AGI, right? Let's just call it like a ABC AGI, but the company behind AGI decided only so and so or who can pay the fees can only access it, right? That we're in a very, very uneven world, right? We're moving further away from, kind of a leveling playing field, right? How do we combat that problem, right? You have to build in the access control mechanism in a properly, right? That's very much a coordination and an access control problem, which, we'd love to see, people build with SUI. Yeah, I mean, I think other things will be around you kind of using, the combination of blockchain like SUI and AI to solve the, sort of like the content kind of issue. How content are being, kind of being used, and are they authentic or have they been manipulated? Do you know the history of the content? Who contribute to the what? Those sort of things are also very, very important for us to solve.
Yeah, that's very cool. I guess maybe your talk will inspire some who like young developers hearing this audio to like build their next startup.
Yeah, these are all big problems, very, very big challenge. But we really looking forward to hoping people will start kind of going after these big challenges.
Yeah. And one more interesting thing is like you were leading a pretty big team in Libra, right? And back in when you were at Facebook, Facebook was already pushing AI. There was no like a ChatGPT, right? But I think at that time the Facebook AI research was a pretty strong research lab. I was in Google Brain in 2016, and by then FAIR was already like a super strong research org, and I remember a lot of interaction with both the Libra people and also the FAIR people. So I was curious, is there any cool like internal discussion about how AI and blockchain work at that time, and anything that is still a cool idea, even if you put it today, it's still not something people have built, and it's like a more kind of contrarian, fun projects or ideas that people chatted.
Yeah, I mean, at least back then, right? There's no real talk about how. At least put it this way, I think AI people didn't care about blockchain at all. And blockchain people are not thinking too much about AI, right? They're still very much thinking about the immediate problem that you can use blockchain. Fast forward a few years, that has definitely changed, right? Back then is sort of almost I view as this two kind of a frontier tech space that both going to be very, very important. At a fundamental level, you have an understanding there's going to be an intersection in some way, but it's not clear, right? But that's how these things tend to be, right? It's like once something become big, there's always going to be downside, right? And now people are worried about the downside of AI or worry about the downside of crypto, looking to each other to say, okay, can I use the other tools to solve some of the problem we have? And lo and behold, you recognize a lot of the solutions already there, and they were just kind of waiting for the problems to appear. All right, so we're very much in that space, at that point of time right now. But it was definitely not the case back then.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think the form of AI has changed a lot, right? In some sense, the blockchain has going through kind of progressive change, but I wouldn't say there like the fundamental technology has something that just like blow our mind if we shift ourselves back to 2017. But I think somehow the whole foundation model, like you can have one giant model that you just prompt a few sentences and it like do different things for you, is something that at least when I work on, say, the early transformer architecture in early days, I didn't really see that's a possibility, right? So I feel like we reached some tipping point that is not something you can use tangential forward looking to see. And what's your future contrarian forecast? Like what in blockchain and what in AI? do you think will blow our mind if we like enter 5 years later and we're like, wow, we didn't see this at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think my one contrarian view would be in 5 years or probably even sooner, the amount of transaction that go into solving, I'm talking about mostly on blockchains, right? The amount of the transaction that's used to solve non-financial related, they're not financial related, is going to be much, much greater than financial related. Right now, it's completely the opposite. Most of the on-chain activities about trading, speculations, and that sort of thing. But just like the internet, right? You have vast majority of the transaction happen on the internet today are these low value kind of transactions, right? You're liking a photo, or you're sending a spam email, or you're receiving a spam email, or all that sort of thing. They actually takes up vast majority of the capacity, but you only pay attention to those few that actually have values, that bring a lot of value. That's going to be the same with blockchain, right? It's like you're going to be filled up. We don't have a block space here in street world, but like use the terminology the blockchain folks like to use, they say blockchain space. Most of blockchain space is going to be filled with junk, just like anything else. But the few important transactions that actually are going to be super valuable. That's what dictates the sort of trajectory of the industry. But you cannot build a blockchain, a public blockchain that's taken down by that had lack capacity to deal with all that spam, so to speak. So that's probably a contrarian view from most everybody else. On the AI front, I'll just say this, right? And I think if the AI people, by and large, if you talk to them today, they probably don't pay as much attention to blockchain. I think my contrarian view would be that's very much going to change. In a few years, they're going to quickly realize blockchain is their perfect partner. And only blockchain can solve the trust problem, public blockchain, and they will very much embrace, the blockchain space or decentralization space.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I totally agree with the like prediction about most of the transaction is non-financial. In fact, when David was designing Ping's protocol, a lot of the transaction we're imagining is also like a micro transaction that is similar to what is happening today on, say, like Facebook recommendation page interaction, that you click this video or you click this page and you follow this person, or like you click this ads, and some like advertisers bid on this ads, like basic simple interaction like this that contains zero monetary value or like a few cents of monetary value. So I imagine when like a blockchain really runs into people's life, especially the more like killing time aspect of people's life, where like most of the internet is about, I think it will truly be the probably like 98-99% of the traffic, right?
Yeah, that's always the case.
Yeah, we're already seeing some early things recently, right? I feel like in this cycle, like there are more projects that is like us, right? We are not really financial focused. We are basically going for this let's build some unique resource in internet and in like everyday users like life, and make them like on chain and make them valuable resource.
Yeah.
I guess we are approaching the end of it. Evan, do you have any like last kind of a few interesting recommendations or like insights you want to share with the audience, especially for like a Ping AI's audience who are excited about personal AI and all that?
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation is just sort of like think harder. This is this is sort of non-trivial type of problem. Whatever seems like an obvious solution is always going to be the wrong one. This is very, very nuanced. So for everybody who's interested in the space, think a little bit deeper, right? We're seeing too many narrative in AI blockchain space. A lot of them are just fundamentally wrong, right? It's like, I can get into a debate about decentralized trading, how that's not viable at all. But, just a lot of these things sort of like if it, at the surface level looks right, but you have to dig deeper, right? So I will recommend everybody who is interested in the intersection between blockchain and AI to think deeper and actually, learn and experiments. That's only way you can kind of be fully educated.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, it's funny you were talking about this. Yeah, internally, I was also keep saying, I have trained very large models in like these giant clusters. So like Google internally have Bog and right now in place like OpenAI or Anthropic or XAI, they were also like really banging their head on how to utilize NVLink to create massive clusters. So like H100 or like next generation GB200, and Jason Huang is showing the like NVL72, right? And in crypto, people are still talking about, oh, can I like do like distributed GPUs and stuff? That's I feel like there is a correct angle to do this, which I find really cool. I just came back from CES and I sit in Jason Huang's talk, and he launched this same project Digits, which is the basically a very, very tiny like Mac Mini level like a personal super AI computer that can run very large model. Yeah, and that actually blow my mind because if that's possible with Ping AI, we don't necessarily need to be restrict ourselves to like a mobile on-device model and a mobile storage space. We can actually run something like a 400 billion model for every user that they can like basically fine-tune locally based on all their personal data of 400 billion very smart personal AI. So I was pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that this is just how fast it's moving in this space. Yeah, it's incredible progress.
Yeah. Thanks so much, David. Any last word?
No, I mean, we're just very glad to be here. Thank you very much for listening. This is one of those kind of an intersection to the fast moving space. It's lots of excitement, a lot for us to collectively figure out. Definitely nobody has all the answers yet, but I share the excitement with everyone. I look forward to seeing what gets built.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I want to thank Evan for joining us. I really enjoyed the conversation, like going deeper into these hard topics, and really exciting to have like a builder and leader like him bringing so many new ideas in the blockchain space, and like really wish SUI best of success, and we'll definitely like be also innovating and looking to collaborate to all the projects in crypto AI that come out of that ecosystem as well.
Sounds great.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.